There are 5 major themes of biology that we are going to see over and over again throughout this class. Theme 1 is evolution. The word evolution just means change. When we discuss the evolution of life on Earth, all we are saying is that it has changed over time. Charles Darwin was a naturalist aboard the ship the HMS Beagle. He made many observations about wildlife around the world. When he returned from his voyage, he started working on his paper about descent with modification. He eventually published the book on the origin of species. Throughout the book, Darwin never uses the word evolution. Instead, he talks about descent with modification. This means that living species today arose from a succession of ancestors who were different from them. Over a long period of time, those differences add up to observable changes. Darwin proposed that a driving force for this change was called natural selection. He started with 2 observations. The individuals within a specific population are varied. This means that members of the same species look different and have different traits. He also observed that there is an overproduction of offspring, leading to competition. This means that not every organism that is born will be able to live long enough to reproduce. Many organisms die because they are competing for food, or nutrients, or space. From these observations, he made 2 inferences, or conclusions. Organisms have unequal reproductive success. An organism that has better traits for the environment it is living in will be more successful. This means that they can produce more offspring, more babies. Those offspring will also have these successful traits. Organisms that struggle to survive in their environment will produce fewer or no offspring. The second conclusion, or inference, was that there is an accumulation of favorable traits over time. This means that the traits that are helpful for surviving will become more common. This is because those traits help with survival, so the individual with them can have babies that also have those traits. The traits that hinder survival will limit the offspring and will become less common. An example of this can be seen in the beetles. The beetles vary. Some are dark, some are light, and there are varying shades in between. Not all of the beetles will thrive. They are competing for space and food. The dark-colored trait is better for camouflage and thus more suited to this environment on a dark background. Birds can see the light-colored beetles easily, so birds are more likely to eat light-colored beetles more often than dark-colored beetles. Thus, the dark-colored beetles have dark-colored beetle babies, and the light-colored beetles that have gotten eaten have no babies. Eventually, there will be more and more dark-colored beetles, and fewer of the light-colored beetles. And that is the change from having dark and light-colored beetles to only darker-colored beetles. Artificial selection is when humans intervene in the process of evolution. This is common in farming and agriculture. Many of the leafy green vegetables that you see at the grocery store are all related to the mustard plant. This is because over a long period of time, farmers bred plants that had specific traits they wanted. We can see the same thing that has happened in corn, so it has more numerous and larger kernels than the corn plant originally did. We also see this in animals. Chickens have been bred to have larger muscles so that manufacturers can sell more meat. Theme 2 is the flow of information. Your body depends on a constant stream of information. The way your body works depends on the proteins it is making. In order to take sugar into your cells, you need insulin. Without it, you would not get the energy you need. DNA is a source of information. To make a protein, DNA is transcribed or copied into a molecule called RNA. RNA is then translated, used as a code, to make proteins. DNA has different genes, and each one codes for a different protein. You don't need all of the genes at the same time, though. So your body uses signals to indicate when to make or to stop making a specific protein. For example, you only need insulin when you have too much sugar in your blood. As soon as the blood sugar is back to normal, you stop producing insulin. Theme 3. Structure indicates function. Structure implies function. The way something is shaped, its structure, dictates how that thing will work. This is true of all levels of life, from molecules to ecosystems. On the left, you can see two molecules, estradiol, or estrogen, and testosterone. Estrogen is the steroid hormone secreted by women, and testosterone by men. The structure of these two molecules is almost exactly the same. There are only two differences. Estrogen has an OH, where testosterone only has an oxygen, and testosterone has one extra carbon molecule that estrogen does not have. But these small differences dictate whether your body will look like that of a man or a woman. On the right are 4 examples of teeth. All of these teeth come from sharks and stingrays. The top left is a mako shark. The mako shark has a long pointed tooth that is well suited to penetrating soft flesh, so mako sharks typically eat soft-bodied fish. The top right is a tiger shark. This tooth is curved with serrations on the edges. This tooth is really adapted to cutting through and tearing. Tiger sharks can eat many things. They're even known for cutting through tough turtle shells. The bottom left is a stingray jaw. We have the upper jaw and the lower jaw. They are flat for crushing clams and mollusks. The bottom right is a whale shark. They have pads that filter out tiny microorganisms. They don't even eat large fish. The way that the teeth are shaped, their structure, determines how they function. Theme 4. Energy and nutrients. Energy flows through a system. By system, I mean, for example, an ecosystem. Energy enters an ecosystem as light energy. Plants use that light to make food through a process called photosynthesis. Then the energy is stored in the body of the plant. Animals eat the plant and use the energy to fuel their own bodies. Every time energy changes forms, some of it is lost as heat. So organisms use energy to fuel their bodies and are always losing energy as heat. This means that energy enters a system, moves through the organisms, and is eventually lost as heat. It cannot be recaptured. Nutrients, on the other hand, cycle through a system. One example of nutrient recycling is the water cycle. Water evaporates from lakes, condenses in the clouds, precipitates back to Earth, and runs off again into the lakes. The nutrients are always at some point in the cycle, and they never leave the Earth or the ecosystem. They can be reclaimed, unlike energy. Theme 5. Systems interact. Anything with multiple interacting components is considered a system. This can be on the molecular level or as large as an ecosystem. Your body is a system. You have many subsystems that all work together to keep your body working. The heart and lungs have to work together to bring oxygen to your muscles and get rid of carbon dioxide, a waste product of the muscles. If any of these parts of the system fails, it affects the rest of the system.